The leadership of Kosovo now is, of course, the former drug dealers, warlords, and guerrilla fighters that were there at the time. Not the kind of people you really want running a country. Bill Clinton, that's got to be, if you look at the size of those windows, that's got to be 70, 80 feet high. They have no question. I mean, again, the Albanians are honest. They know they couldn't have done it without America's help. They love Bill Clinton. There's a street named after Hillary. There's a Hotel Victory, the Statue of Liberty. On top, that is actually owned by one of the Albanian warlords. That's his private and oversized brothel. Who wins in this case? Obviously, again, I don't think the average Albanian in Kosovo is going to win if you've got the current leadership that they've got. Undemocratic. I mean, there's no independence is something which, I mean, I've questioned this again. What is independent about Kosovo? People recognize the independence. You've got 17,000 foreign troops still stationed there. It depends entirely upon foreign aid for its economy or its black market, which is the highest drug trade and ratio of prostitutes in the world per capita. And that's not because of the Albanians in Kosovo. It's because of the international community that's there administering the aid and the soldiers that exist there. So it's a criminal entity supported by foreign money, protected by foreign troops, yet it claims to be independent. And of course, unfortunately, it's run by people he doesn't understand. The Americans love it. This guy, they get to be there. They're welcomed as heroes. Unlike most other places American troops or security forces go, these guys are hailed as heroes by the Albanians because they know that they, ultimately owe them their independence. I love this photo because this is one of the things I found out was unique for me to find that the major contributor to the actual legal economy in Kosovo is scrap cars. That's the biggest export that they've got, is because the highways are so bad, people going through, junk metal is their major export. I mean, if that you can base an independent country on the export of junk metal from cars that were destroyed driving your highways, that's not much to go on. Again, the foreign troops that were there everywhere present. I mean, it's only a tiny couple of valleys, and it's a population total base of about 2 million people. So to have 17,000, 18,000 NATO forces, again, their jurisdiction is in dispute as well, because it originally had a UN mandate. That mandate expired when they declared independence. No one quite knows what to do with it, so it's now presently being patrolled by U-Force or European Force, which gets really tricky as far as this is writing all new laws and international agreements. It was mentioned earlier in the film today that it isn't just the Serbs that the Albanians don't like living in Kosovo. All the other minorities that were there before, the Turkmens, the Goranis, other Bosniaks and Croats that are there, people that were there, have been chased out. This happens to be a Gorani village down in the south. Goranis are essentially Serbian ethnic Serbs that converted to Islam, still see themselves as Serbs, not in any way affiliated with the Albanian Muslims. So religion is not a factor here. These people are being chased out of their way of life. That's actually the member of parliament for the Gorani village that he's in. It's kind of like a Borat thing. This place, we got invited to his house. But they're being persecuted by the Albanians who come in, steal their cows, rob from them at gunpoint. That's rush hour in the village, up in the mountains. But their way of life, I mean, it is based on their forests, what they harvest from it, the herbs and things that they grow. And what's happening is that the Albanians from Albania, because there is no border in between, are coming in and harvesting the entire forest, basically driving them out in terms of eco-vandalism. That's looking down, that valley looks down into Albania. There is no border, it's wide open. And the current government, as I said, the Albanians, they see this as the first step towards Greater Albania. There is no internal boundary, nothing, etc. So drugs flow through here, weapons flow through here, and they come in and they take out entire forests, which they harvest for lumber, which if Kosovo believed itself in any way to be independent from Albania would definitely put up some sort of boundary. Inside Canada, we have interprovincial boundaries for trade. Here, they don't seem to mind them coming in and taking the Gorani's trees, because the side effect is, of course, these poor Goranis are being driven out of their way of life. And there's a German NATO officer telling me exactly what I'm just telling you, and the fact that he's powerless from his command to do anything about it. Following the pogrom in 2004, the Serbs that were left in the enclaves that were forced out, the 800 houses that were destroyed, those that chose to stay were given a very temporary settlement in the form of containers, sea containers that were donated by Russia. To this day, those people are still living in those same containers donated by Russia. No attempt has been made by the international community to improve their lot, to provide them with permanent structures, et cetera, because ultimately the international community would be just as happy if they disappeared, if we ended up, at the end of the day, which we will, an almost ethnically pure tiny corner of Europe. That's the inside of the sea containers. That's what the Serbian refugees live like inside Kosovo now. Old lady there. Again, the graveyards, the fact that the killings go on. I mean, you don't hear about it in the news now because of Iraq and Afghanistan, et cetera. But if you're plugged into those systems, you're hearing about it all the time. Acts of provocation against the people, trying to force them to leave. So again, they can have an ethnically pure state. And it doesn't stop there. During the pogroms in 2004, anywhere they could get a hold of Serbian graveyards, they desecrated the graveyards. So even the dead are being persecuted by the Albanian majority against the Serbs that were there. This is a couple of shots. That was, I think, a 12-year-old boy that they somehow felt hatred enough to destroy his headstone. That was a newborn that they desecrated the graveyard. And then they now also use the Serbian graveyard as a garbage dump, which I know for the Serbs here today, it's going to be difficult to see. As opposed to how the Serbs keep their own graveyards in Mitrovica just across the river. This is how they honor their own dead. Obviously, a very big difference. Again, people want to deny the presence of the roots of the Serbs, the heartland. This is their religious heartland. It truly is, the embodiment of their natural, or of their culture. And this, again, people that want to deny it, they can't deny the fact that there are still, thank God, a few religious sites that have yet to be destroyed. And these things belong to all of us, given their age and what they mean to us. And the fact that NATO's turned a blind eye throughout their occupation to allow them to be destroyed. That's, we won't have enough time to get into all the history of it, but that's the tower that was erected for Prince Lazar on the Battle of the Plains of Kosovo, the Battle of Kosovo, 1389, a famous moment in Serbian history. They actually lost the battle, but it's remembered as it's a defining moment, 1389. And of course, the only thing keeping the Serbs going to this day, keeping them there, is what we call inat, which means stubborn resistance, or regardless of the consequences, that spirit which embodies them. They will stay there now. People say that they will, regardless of whatever life is, I mean, how dangerous it is and how little they've got inside Kosovo, the Serbs, they will not go, because they will not give the satisfaction to the Albanians of seeing them leave. And inat is something which, had NATO forces understood this in the Serbian spirit, would have realized that you're not going to bomb Serbia for 5 days and have them suddenly submit to your wishes. That campaign went on for 79 days, and in the end, it was a negotiated settlement, and that was the only way we could bring that to a conclusion. And then we reneged on all the agreements that we made to the Serbian people, and that's why we still don't have this thing resolved. And that's that. I know we're tight on time, so I'm not going to give too much detail on that. I know Joe Bissett's going to be able to give you a lot more on the root causes and just how illegal and illogical that intervention was. And I think the fact that myself, you may have heard of General Lewis Mackenzie. He was a peacekeeping general in Bosnia in '93, spoke out about the fact that the Serbs weren't to blame for everything. He also felt strongly enough in 1999 to risk his life and his reputation, etc., to go into Belgrade to report on the suffering of the Serbian people. So again, that war sold it to people as a humanitarian intervention. End result would prove otherwise. So I'm going to cut my talk short there, and I think Joe's next.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Now I call on former Ambassador James Bissett.